Have you ever felt trapped by your own mind, as if an invisible pattern holds you captive in the same cycles of thought, the same habits, and the same emotions that prevent you from moving forward? Carl Jung, the great pioneer of depth psychology, dedicated his life to studying these patterns and arrived at a surprising conclusion. He believed that happiness is not something we seek outside of ourselves. It is something we uncover within in the way we interpret and process our own reality. But what if I told you that you have been conditioned to think in a way that keeps you from being truly happy? Our childhood, society, and past experiences have all shaped our perception of the world, often without us even noticing. And what if, instead of being a victim of your mind, you could become its master? What if your unconscious mind, that powerful force that shapes your decisions, was not an enemy but an ally? If you're ready to break free from the patterns that limit you and discover how to become the author of your own life, stay with me until the end. And while you listen, think about what comes to mind, then leave a comment below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so we can continue this journey of transformation together. Deep within us, in the most hidden layers of our psyche, exists a collection of beliefs, memories, and repressed experiences that influence us without our awareness. Imagine your mind as a vast ocean. On the surface, you find everything you know, but beneath it lies an entire world of hidden forces, shadows, and archetypes that shape your behavior, your decisions, and your ability to find happiness. The real problem is that most people live solely on the surface. They never dare to dive into the depths of their own minds, and yet it is precisely in those depths where the key to transforming your mental framework lies. Jung spoke of the shadow as the part of ourselves that we have rejected, the part that did not fit into what society or our families expected of us. It contains everything we were told was wrong, everything that should not be expressed. But whatever we repress does not simply disappear. It becomes a silent force that continues to influence our lives from the unconscious. Every time you act in a way you don't fully understand, every time you repeat a self-sabotaging pattern, there is a good chance that it is your shadow manifesting itself. That is why Jung urges us to do something that few people dare to do. Face it. True mental transformation does not occur when we force ourselves to be positive. It happens when we have the courage to look within ourselves, to examine the stories we have been telling ourselves, and to rewrite those stories. Think about this. If you constantly tell yourself that you are not enough, your unconscious mind will seek confirmation of those beliefs. And without you even realizing it, it will sabotage any opportunity that challenges that narrative. This is not magic. It is the law of projection that Jung described. We see in the world what we carry within us. If you constantly find yourself surrounded by people who do not value you, Jung would say that this is no coincidence. It is a reflection of the hidden beliefs you hold about yourself. But those beliefs are not set in stone. You can change them. However, to do so, you must first bring them into the light. This brings us to a fundamental concept, the process of individuation. This is the journey of integrating all aspects of yourself, both the conscious and the unconscious, to become a whole, authentic being. It is not an easy process, but once you begin, everything starts to change. Jung believed that the purpose of life is not simply to fit in, but to discover who you truly are. This journey of self-discovery is a deep and ongoing process. Along the way, you begin to question what you once believed to be true, let go of what no longer serves you, and integrate the parts of yourself that you may have previously rejected. However, this path requires immense courage because it means facing aspects of yourself that you might not like. It means admitting that at times you have acted out of fear and that many of your decisions were not truly yours, but were influenced by conditioning or external pressures. This realization can be uncomfortable, but the alternative is to continue living on autopilot, unaware that you are the one holding the keys to your own chains. The real question is, are you willing to look within? Jung described the process of bringing the unconscious into consciousness. And here lies the key. You cannot change what you are not aware of. Only when you recognize the patterns that have been limiting, you can begin to transform them. But how do you recognize these patterns? There is a simple way. Observe the areas of your life where you feel the most resistance. In each of these situations, there is a hidden message. These challenges are the manifestations of your shadow, the parts of you that remain unintegrated. And until you bring them to light, they will continue to show up in your life again and again. Most people choose to ignore these signs, as it's easier to blame fate or others for our struggles. But Jung offered a powerful insight. The outer world is merely a reflection of our inner world. If there is something in your life that causes you pain, the real solution is to look inward and ask yourself, what part of me is creating this? This process requires humility, as it means admitting that many of our beliefs were adopted without question from childhood. The unconscious is not merely a storage place for repressed memories. It is also an endless source of wisdom. Deep within you, there is a voice that has always been there, waiting for you to listen. It is the voice of your true essence. But to hear it, you must first quiet all the external noise. One of the greatest obstacles to shifting our mindset is our attachment to the identity we have constructed. If you have always been someone who has to fight for everything, then letting go of that identity can feel like losing a part of yourself. But Jung teaches us that true transformation happens when we stop identifying with the limited version of ourselves and start seeing ourselves for what we truly are, beings in constant evolution. This is where the concept of individuation comes in. It is about becoming the person you were always meant to be. But to achieve this, you must let go of old stories, fears, and everything that no longer aligns with your new path. This doesn't happen overnight. It is a journey of letting go, questioning, and rewriting your internal narrative. If you constantly tell yourself that life is hard, your mind will seek to confirm that belief. But the moment you become aware of the power your thoughts and beliefs hold, everything changes. You finally understand that you are in control. You just couldn't see it before. This realization can be terrifying for many, because acknowledging that you have control also means accepting responsibility for what you create. You can no longer blame others or fate, but at the same time, this is the greatest liberation you can experience. If you have created your reality up until now, that means you also have the power to transform it. You are not doomed to repeat the same mistakes. Change is possible, and it begins with a decision. You can reprogram your mind, replacing limiting ideas with new beliefs that empower you. This process is not about denying who you were, but about embracing who you truly are. Happiness is not something you achieve. It is something you cultivate from within. It does not depend on what you have or what you accomplish, but on how aligned you are with your truth. When you live this way, everything changes. The relationships you attract change, the opportunities that come into your life change, and the way you experience each day changes. Not because the world has magically changed, but because you have. This is the power of inner work. Jung said that what we deny within ourselves controls us from the shadows, but what we accept sets us free. This is the true power of mental transformation. You can stop the habit of running from yourself and start recognizing, understanding, and integrating who you truly are. Think of every difficult situation as a mirror. If you constantly encounter the same conflicts in your relationships, it means there is something within you that needs to be acknowledged. You cannot change what you refuse to see. If instead of avoiding these experiences, you use them as opportunities to understand what part of you is creating them, you will begin to experience deep transformation. The common reaction is to blame external circumstances, but Jung teaches us that all external factors are merely reflections of our inner world. Once you accept this, you realize something incredibly powerful. You don't need to wait for things outside of you to change in order to be happy. Jung discovered that what irritates us about others is actually a reflection of aspects of ourselves that we have repressed or denied. The qualities we criticize in others are often a mirror of our own shadow. Every time someone triggers a strong reaction in you, instead of reacting automatically, ask yourself, what part of me is being reflected in this person? Why does this affect me so much? You may discover that there is something in your unconscious that you have yet to integrate. This is one of the keys to shifting your mindset. If you continue projecting your own fears onto others, you will remain trapped in the same patterns. But when you start observing these projections and becoming aware of them, you can stop being a victim of your mind and start taking control. Jung warns us that what we do not confront within ourselves will eventually manifest in our lives as fate. In other words, if you don't work on healing what you carry inside, life will keep showing it to you repeatedly through situations that reflect your unresolved inner conflicts. This is why some people seem to repeat the same stories over and over again. They believe that in order to change their reality, they must change their external circumstances. But no matter how many times they change the setting, if they don't do the internal work, the same problems will appear over and over again, because the problem was never outside. It was always within. Real change only happens when you dare to look inside yourself and take full responsibility for your life. Jung believed that true happiness is not a superficial state of constant joy, but a profound sense of connection with who you really are. To achieve this, you must question the beliefs that have limited you, face your fears, and explore your shadow. This process is neither quick nor easy, but when you begin, you realize that happiness was never in the things you thought it was in. True happiness is an internal state of peace and clarity. Many of the things you have been chasing may not even be yours. It's possible that you have been trying to achieve goals that were imposed on you by others. But did you ever stop to ask yourself if that's what you really want? Jung teaches us that self-knowledge is the path to true freedom, because when you truly know who you are, you stop being a slave to other people's expectations. You stop acting out of fear and start living from a place of authenticity. This is the moment when many people feel liberated, because they realize that they never needed to change the external world to be happy. The only thing they needed to change was the way they perceived the world, and more importantly, the way they perceived themselves. This journey of mental transformation is not one you have to walk alone. If these words have resonated with you, if something inside you clicked, then I invite you to be a part of this growing community. Share your story in the comments below. Let me know what part of this message impacted you the most and what you are ready to change in your life today. Your words could be the inspiration someone else needs to take their first step toward their own transformation. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. Every time you engage with this content, you are helping to build a community where knowledge and personal growth can flourish. Remember, life doesn't change when external circumstances change. Life changes when you decide to change your mind, your perception, and your energy. And that power has always been in your hands. It's time to use it. Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next video.